Connecticut pride, Vermont's green hills take it all in stride. Massachusetts traffic we grip and we grind with a Dunkin' iced coffee and no peace of mind. So New England, stand up proud. Shout a thick way, shout it loud. From Fenway Chance to Rhode Island Tide, New Hampshire's Clyde, free or die. So New England, with Ian Brownhill.
Good friggin' morning from New England, folks, and welcome back to episode 49 of the So New England podcast. I am your host, Ian Brownhill, joined by my co-host, Robert Travisano, all things So New England podcast, Life's Better in New England, producer, graphic designer. Honestly, he keeps me afloat. Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know if you can hear it, but Vin just played some music. So, okay, cool. I'm just making sure. Vince Iguaneri behind the camera. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a little bit of a spooky one for you. Did I just take your line?
No.
I'm excited.
Not at all.
RJ, tell us who our guest is today.
Here we go. Well, guys, this might be the first episode I have to take over because I'm going to grab the reins for this amazing pod because you all know Ian doesn't do scary. But don't worry, Ian. I brought you a change of pants because our guest today is here to talk all things spooky. And we all know Ian hates anything scary, which quite honestly is to him is a lot. Our guest has racked up almost 1 million followers between her social platforms like Instagram and TikTok. But that's only because the paranormal don't have cell phones. If they did, that number would be, as a New Englander says, huge. Whether it's a haunted house, hotel, or even a bakery, our guest is going to go and give us watchers the feel of what's there and let us get a true deep dive on the paranormal. But don't worry, although she's an expert on what goes bump in the night during the day, she's a modern hero in my eyes as she works as a registered nurse in the ER and has even won a national award. That's right, national. So Ian, that means bigger than New England.
I don't know what that means.
Without further ado, one of the bravest, most courageous badasses in New England, it is with the utmost respect and pleasure we welcome Amanda Noel, a.k.a. Spooky New England, to the pod.
Ooh, spooky. All right. Well, he already kind of prefaced this, Amanda, but I do not do scary. I don't do spooky. And more importantly, the one thing that scares the absolute ever-living shit out of me the most is paranormal stuff. My first scary film was The Sixth Sense, and I have been scarred ever since. Anyways, just to preface it, please be kind to me with your stories today. Anyways, thank you so much for being on the pod with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So you are a New Englander through and through.
Oh, yeah. Born and raised.
Awesome.
We'll never leave.
And you're a Vermonter now?
Yeah. Grew up in New Hampshire, but live in Vermont now. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And so, I mean, you got to tell us a story about, like, there has to be a backstory growing up that got you into this. Because I've never met anyone who's like deeply into spooky stuff that doesn't have like an upbringing that kind of was surrounded by that kind of exploration or interest. Yeah.
So, I mean, like everyone else in New England, I did grow up in a haunted house. It's not rare. But yeah, the house that I grew up in was a large colonial style home built in 1791. I lived there for about my first 4 years until a drunk driver actually crashed into it.
Oh, wow.
And destroyed it. Yeah. So we're starting out really heavy here. But so what's interesting about that is that house, it was a Victorian home, was haunted. There was a woman who would wear Victorian garb and would sit on the bed upstairs. And then my brother told me that he heard people playing pool one night, but there was nobody at the pool table. But
that's insane. That's so cool.
So the actual story of like what happened was, so I was 4 years old and my brother was 5. And my mom had this weird feeling that we should go to like Market Basket or something. New England reference.
Yeah, I love that. Market Basket.
We should go in the evening, which didn't make much sense with little kids, they'll get tired. But she just had this feeling like, oh, we shouldn't go in the morning. We should go later. So we all packed up in the van. And not 5 minutes after we went down the road, a drunk driver was street racing, going 80 miles an hour, hit another car, and then flew right into our living room.
Holy smokes.
Where we would have all been sitting, like playing Nintendo.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's how that started.
Wow. Coming in with a
I was
bomb
gonna
to
say.
start. Holy smokes. I'm so glad that you're okay and you're
Yeah,
here with us
seriously.
today.
Yeah, thank you.
What a
Thanks. Yeah,
story to
so
start for
my
a
mom jokes
4-year-old.
around that like we're all a little bit psychic, and I think that is true. It certainly, saved us that day. But
That's amazing.
Insane.
Wow.
Insane. So then what led to where you are now? Like what was the motivating factors? Did that really just jumpstart everything for you?
I mean, it sort of did. I've always sort of been a really weird kid. I mean, I have a picture of me from when I was really little wearing a witch costume on Christmas.
Love that.
So I've always just been a weird kid. Always loved ghost stories, things like that. But it wasn't until I moved to Vermont that I really started to share that passion. I usually just sort of kept it to myself. But so I agreed to my husband, like, all right, we'll move from New Hampshire, even though it's, a wonderful state, even though it was getting kind of crowded, not gonna lie. But as a kid, it was a lot less crowded there. But I agreed to move to his hometown. Finally, I was like, all right, let's go. I have an RN job there now. Let's go over there, work in the ER. And we're driving through the winding hills of Vermont. All the houses are disappearing. It's all trees. And I'm like, okay, this is an adjustment. But then all of a sudden he points to the mountains and he goes, oh yeah, those are haunted. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, people have disappeared there. It's the Bennington Triangle. And I was like, you could have told me this earlier. I would have moved a long time ago. Yeah, I sort of accidentally moved to the most haunted town in Vermont. So
No
it's
kidding.
been quite nice.
Wow. So this is actually going to be news to me. Like, here's one thing I always want to preface. Like, yes, this is a So New England podcast. Yes, I am a self-proclaimed like Mr. New England. But the true reality is I am pretty like unknowledgeable of a lot of New England things. That is just like I'm a Rhode Islander. We don't travel very far. I love New Hampshire. I've only gone to Vermont maybe a handful of times, and it's very day trippy, in and out, maybe snowboard or ski, or maybe a quick hike. So what is this Bennington Triangle? Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
So what is that? I would love to know a little bit more about that.
I know. So it's so the town of Bennington is within the Bennington Triangle. There's Glastonbury Mountain, which I have hiked, even though there's a sign that says, we do not recommend going any further. Rescue would be unlikely. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Like 5 people disappeared. You're not supposed to wear red or you'll disappear. I even sort of look like one of the women who disappeared, Paula Weldon. It's kind of strange. But anyway. So, and also in my town, we have the Everett Mansion, which was where the Everett family spent their summers. It was actually featured on an episode of Ghost Hunters. So that's right in town. That's going to be turned into a resort. So you can, come stay when that happens. But very haunted. There's a haunted cafe and bar. And when they found out I lived in town, they invited me to investigate it. So I investigated it with the owner and can confirm it is haunted. And they do have pumpkin spice lattes right now. Just throwing it out there.
Year round. Okay. We love a little PS.
Yeah,
PSL.
iced coffee. Yeah. Yeah, it's just very haunted. There's like the oldest, most well-preserved Victorian mansion in New England is here. It's beautiful. There's just haunted places everywhere.
That's insane.
Wow.
I was gonna say, so I wouldn't say like I'm more of a horror lover for the concept of like the movies, because I can at least compartmentalize the fact that it's a movie, even the ones that tend to be based on a true story or things like that, because there's quite a few of them. Can you talk about some of that when it comes to it? Because there are quite a bit of movies that are based on true stories from New England that are like these horror, scary, genre of things.
Well, hey, we are New England,
say.
so obviously it's going to happen. This is where everyone migrated to.
No, I know. I just think it's so cool.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the big one you're probably thinking of is The Conjuring. So I have been to
Stay in it. La la la.
So I'm a complete nerd about The Conjuring. I loved the movie, even though it was mostly fiction. I've met Andrea Perrin. We've talked. I've actually been on her podcast before. And I've read her books like 3 times. But I investigated the house a lot, and then I eventually came to work there last year. I don't know. I had like a weird feeling maybe it's that psychic stuff, or I was just like, you know what? I feel like I should work there before I can't. And I didn't really have an explanation for that thought. And I actually messaged the owner the day before they posted that they were hiring, which was kind of weird. Apparently, yeah. So the hiring process was we did some phone interviews, and they said, "Do you hear that cat?" And I was like, "What?" They said, "Oh, well, the process is if the ghosts like you at the house, the ghost cat will meow." And I was like,
wow, interesting.
Word. Okay, thank you. And that's a completely random gift.
That's too funny. If the cat likes you, you got the job. If not, sorry.
Yeah, I was like, well, I've been there so many times before. It would be, hurt my feelings if they didn't.
So when it comes to like where you're going to investigate and where you're going to explore paranormal, how do you make that decision? Is it just like anything? If there's any little inclination, if there's anything that someone's like, hey, we heard that you're like, I'm there, or is it like you do a lot of due diligence and research beforehand that says, yes, this is like valid? Like, I'm curious because obviously growing up, a 90s baby being a millennial, like Ghost Hunters was like the show. And then, those are like, that's kind of the understanding I have about like paranormal activity and exploration. So, and I actually did watch The Conjuring, by the way.
I know you did.
I know, that was a scary one.
It was the last movie that was
the best ones.
Yeah, it was the last scary movie I ever saw.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, even though The Conjuring is mostly fiction, if you hear Andrew talk about it, and she's talked about it, like they've actually showed The Conjuring at the Conjuring house with her there, which is very interesting. But she points out there's a few little key moments in the movie that are kind of weird. Like there's a chandelier that they're walking around with, and she said, we had that same exact wind chime. Like weird stuff like that, or the same exact random painting in their bedroom. They had the same one. But yeah, so as far as picking places, the first time I like to go in a little blind, so I'm not like biased by any information. After that, I'm a total nerd. Like I've spent countless hours studying, The Conjuring, all the haunted places in my town, the Lizzie Borden house. I've studied that case quite extensively as well. And the first time I went there, I went in completely blind, not like okay, so we grew up in New England, right? We heard the nursery rhyme.
Right.
Have you?
I have. I couldn't recite it, but like I've definitely heard it.
Yeah. Like Lizzie Borden took an axe.
Yeah, because that's the one with the axe, right?
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
going to say, I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I know more than you. Wow.
You do.
Some scary movie buff you
Should
are.
recite it.
So all New Englanders grow up hearing that, and that's sort of what you assume, right? Is that Lizzie Borden murdered her father and stepmother. So that's the assumption I sort of went in when I first went to the Lizzie Borden house, and I accidentally ended up staying there by myself.
How do you
That was my first
accidentally do that?
paranormal investigation. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go do this. And then I was just like, the staff, I was like, all right, here's the tour. And then they're like, all right, see ya.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Here's the key.
Yeah,
Have a good
and
night.
it's, big deal. One of the most haunted houses in the world.
That's crazy.
Where a brutal murder happened. And I was actually going to be sleeping in the room where one of the murders did happen.
Oh.
And I since did stay there in that room like 7 times.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I look like I'm scaring you a little bit.
Me, probably a little bit, but I'll be okay.
Like, just not the stories. But
RJ
like,
and I are pretty intrigued.
Yeah.
No, I think the reason why I'm having those reactions is because I am so curious. Because like as someone who is just generally a scaredy cat, I'm so curious where you get like the grit to just like to do like where you get the courage. Because I just like how do you not get scared? Or I mean, how do you handle if you do get scared? Like what is that like?
I mean, I think true courage is when you do get scared, but you do it anyway, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, the first time I stayed there, like really crazy stuff happened. I even saw a shadow figure in the basement.
Oh hell no!
I have a recording of that. I didn't even see it. The tour guide was like, "Do you see that shadow standing there?" And I was like, "No."
Holy smokes!
But then I watched it back. I was like, "Wow, really glad I didn't watch that when I was there." But no, I was really scared the first night, and I actually like had a hard time like turning off the lights, and I watched Twilight to fall asleep. So I'm very cool. No. I stayed there so many other times that I felt like the house was used to me and I stopped being afraid.
Gotcha. Okay. And
now
what
that
is
you're on number 7, something would have happened by now, so you might as well just move there. It's fine. You're part of the crew. Part of the ship crew, part of the crew.
now? What does the typical process look like in your explorations? Right, like walk us through when you get to a new place that you're going to be exploring. Like, what are the first? Like, do you have like a process that you go through? Is it communication? Is it like, because I guess the stereotype is you try and talk to the spirits or you try to present something to them, or do you have like these, like you were saying, a preconceived notion of like what you should or shouldn't be doing? I'm curious how that process goes.
Yeah. So when I first get to a place, I try to just sort of feel it out. I don't like claim that I'm like psychic or anything, even though I feel like my family's sensitive. I just sort of like, all right, I can sort of be like, yeah, this place is haunted. I can sort of feel that. And, yeah, I mean, first I just try to, with my senses, like feel the energy, feel the air, just walk through. I usually say, I probably sound like a crazy person, but I usually say hello. I introduce myself, say why I'm there, say that I'm, here with respect. And, if I tell your story, I mean it in a respectful way. So please feel free to give me your side of the story, because a lot of people might see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
Fascinating.
And is there any like end goal for you with it? Like, do you ever feel like you need something specific for you? Like, what is the declaring moment where, because I know you just said like that intuitive, emotional experience where you're like, yeah, this place is haunted, but is there any like one specific thing, or is it just the feeling?
Well, so like, I'll give you a few examples. So when the first time I went to the Lizzie Borden house, I felt, super nauseous and dizzy. And, later I learned that the Bordens were actually, throwing up. They were sick. Probably from leftover swordfish, but there were rumors that the Bordens thought they had been poisoned, before the murders. So it was interesting that I felt that sensation. And then in the basement there and in the Conjuring house, you can sort of just feel like, like there's eyes on you. I think that ultimately we are animals. That sounds weird, but we've sort of let go, because we're always on our phones or doing other things. We've let go of our instincts. So if your instincts tell you that you're being watched, most likely you're being watched, right? So, maybe like as a woman, I would have to tune into that a little more walking around, but.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like incredibly.
It's so interesting because I've always, like, I love shows like Criminal Minds too, like some of that more real life stuff. And I've always said, like, kind of like the movies, people, I'm sure some of that stuff is off of the minds of other people or creativity, whatever. But that stuff has to come from somewhere. So it has to happen, or it has to have happened, or something along those lines. So it's insane when you think about this aspect of what you do on a paranormal side, and like, you've done it, you've been there, you're put yourself, like, for lack of a better term, in the movie. You're like, oh, I'm going to go do that. And you've done it. And it's like so interesting. But I guess that is no different than being what you do in real life too, because that's a pretty badass job.
Thank you. Well, I worked as an ER nurse for about 5 years. I have since moved on to like other specialties and everything, but I did work in the ER during the peak of the pandemic, and when it was showing on the news that our town had the most COVID in the whole country.
Jeez.
Oh, goodness.
I was like, oh, so glad I moved here.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What are some of the stereotypes about paranormal activity, haunted houses, the horror film genre? What are some of the stereotypes that you're not really like a fan of?
Well, I think that a lot of people show up to someplace haunted and expect there to be like jump scares,
Right.
or, oh, I heard that doll is haunted, and expect things to just keep happening. So like the paranormal, I personally believe that most of the paranormal is people who have passed away. And so they're people, right? So I treat them like people. I don't like it when people yell at spirits or try to antagonize them to get a response. Honestly, like, what you put in is what you get out. So if you're really negative, you're going to get negative responses. But if you're really positive and light, even like we could be in a haunted place right now and just be talking like this, and they would be wanting to listen and maybe communicate more than, saying, "You're a demon."
Yeah. What's going on in my mind when I'm thinking about this is I think of ghost hunters and I think of them like walking around with like little radars. Do you believe in all that stuff? Or do you, again, I hate to keep like kind of punching in on like a, what do you think scenario, but I guess I'm just trying to understand more the experience that kind of, number one, attracts you, that gives you the courage, and the things that are actually useful, kind of like you're saying, the communication. Like, I want to understand it to the fullest extent, just so that our listeners too, who might be similar into this or might want to explore it at some time, can kind of follow your lead on.
Yeah. So I'll touch on a few things. So I first started really investigating the paranormal, like during working on the front lines of the pandemic. Right. So I sort of was almost like I was looking for something that was scarier than my reality. And sort of a good way to escape. And you can, socially distance when you're with ghosts. You can't. You've already died from the plague. You can't get it. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's just where that comes from. And I just think that if anyone tells me I can't do something, then I want to do it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this completely alone and have horrible nightmares. It's going to be great. Ultimately, my motivation is for the plot.
I love that. That's
awesome. I'm like, well, I'm here. I might as well just, do the thing. But so as far as equipment I use, I'm not a big equipment heavy person. I do like using the spirit box and using the Estes method. Are you aware of what that is?
No, this is all, but do you know?
Yeah.
Okay, this is all brand new to me, so break it down.
Yeah. So essentially, a spirit box is a radio that sweeps the radio waves, but you put it on backwards and at a high speed. And then you listen with headphones, noise canceling headphones, and you have a blindfold on. And the other person in the room, whoever you're with, is asking questions. And then you just say what you hear in the headphones. So I believe in intelligent responses. So, I mean, you could hear something on the radio spouted out, right? And then it could make no sense, but it could make sense. But you want to really listen over the static and just say what you hear. You can also say what you are feeling. One time I was at the Borden house, I was doing the Estes method, and I was like, I don't know, sort of was a little freaky. I was like, why does it suddenly feel like I'm completely alone in the room and it's completely dark? Like, it's just, weird stuff like that. And yeah, so like other examples of that was, so I actually was professionally filmed at the Borden house before.
Okay.
And I brought like some white roses for Mrs. Borden because she was murdered, unfortunately. But a lot of people like to talk about how like she was a heavier set woman or that she deserved to die, like things like that. It's really terrible. But I brought her some white roses because those were some of the flowers that were on her casket when she was buried. And the next time I went to the house, I said, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the flowers this time, but I'll get some tomorrow. And the person who was under the Estes method said, I'll take them. Or like, where are they? Like, it's like, oh, I'll bring you the flowers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredibly intense.
I bet.
Yeah, I know. I felt really bad. I was like, I'm really sorry. And I went to the grocery store like the next day and brought the flowers. But
do you like being the person asking the questions, or do you like to be the person listening and having?
I like being under. I think it's an interesting experience, especially if you're a little sensitive. But I mean, like probably my most intense session would be. Did you know that right next to the Lizzie Borden house is a location where there was another horrible murder there?
No.
Is this too dark to talk on the podcast?
No. This is your podcast.
Yeah,
this is your episode. Like you tell these stories because there's going to be people who are into this that are going to want to hear it. So
I highly recommend going to. There's a coffee shop called Miss Lizzie's Coffee. The owner's very nice. So he didn't realize when he bought it that it's haunted, and he bought it. Named it Miss Lizzie's Coffee, obviously because it's right next to the Lizzie Borden house, and you can even see it out the window and everything. But Eliza Darling Borden, who was Lizzie Borden's great aunt, non-blood related, but married in, was suffering from postpartum depression and psychosis. And she actually drowned 2 of her children in the cistern in the basement.
Jeez.
Yeah, sorry, I know. It's too dark.
That's tough. No, again, I mean, these are the stories.
Yeah,
it's not,
those are just our
reaction because it's like, these are stories that you hear. So you're like, wow.
Yeah, so I've actually done the Estes method, like blindfolded, headphones on, sitting in the exact spot where she later slit her throat.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What?
Sorry.
So no, don't.
No,
be.
it's okay.
What,
Yeah,
did anything come from that? Like.
Yeah, it was really strange. It was almost like I was hearing it happening, and that sounds completely made up, but I was hearing like splashing. I was just.
That must
I
have
also
been
heard,
intense.
yeah, heard like a priest, like almost giving like a sermon. I was like, "Is this Fiona?"
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sounds really made up. And then I kept thinking, "Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" And one of her children actually survived because I don't think she was actually able to locate her in time.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I know it's like, oh, and there's a coffee shop above it, but he really likes people. If you do paranormal investigate down there, just to donate to, modern day postpartum depression fund.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's nice.
That's cool.
So I mean,
Turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
New England has a dark history, but there's.
It does. It was
like
a,
you
it was
said,
a,
it's kind of like where everyone came from, you know?
right. It's a troubling time. A lot of things occurred. A lot of things definitely developed and happened. How much exploring have you done outside of New England for the paranormal?
Yeah, I mean, quite a bit. I always miss New England though when I come home. Like,
Yeah,
my people.
exactly.
But, I've been to New Orleans. I've been to Ireland.
Ooh, there you go.
Now you got my attention.
Yeah, so I went to. It's funny. I actually went to the Cooning Ghost House, which is in Northern Ireland. It's actually abandoned, and you're not supposed to go in there.
Ooh.
Anyway, so went in there. For the plot, I'm like, I'll just be like, oh, sorry. But I didn't do this.
Yes. No,
This is a hypothetical, right?
hypothetically, if you did go in the house, what would have potentially happened?
So it's like all crumbling and everything, and so the story goes was that it's the most haunted house in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and after this woman's husband died, there was like horrible poltergeist activity to the point where they had to flee and they fled to the U.S. But I brought my spirit box in there. I just sort of set it down. I was walking around, and all of a sudden I hear out of the spirit box, "Hey," and I was like, "Hello?" I was like, "I'm Amanda. Nice to meet." I was like, "I'm Amanda," and it said, "Nice to meet you."
Wow. The
and then
Irish are a friendly bunch.
Yeah, I brought out a deck of oracle decks. It's almost like a tarot deck, but it has like different images and things. And one of the first cards I got was Widow, which is interesting because she was a widow. But as I was shuffling the deck, the spirit box goes, "Magic trick."
Oh my God, that's cool.
I thought I was doing a magic trick.
Got a magic trick going on there. Sorry,
Yeah.
I always do the Irish accent when I used to.
Yeah, I mean, like, my family's from the Fitzgerald clan, so.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Another instance was, so I also like to use voice recorders. And so when I was being filmed at the Borden house, they kept wanting me to talk to Lizzie Borden. And we were like in her old bedroom, and I was like, she's not here. Like, I've been here many times. She's not here. She's over at Maplecroft, where she later moved. And she also now goes by Liz Beth. It's actually on her tombstone, on her gravestone. So, call her that and she'll be more responsive. But they kept wanting me to bring her up and everything. And I was just like, I had Mr. Borden's room was right behind her room, and it was dark in there. And I just had this weird feeling that he was in there and he was listening to what we were doing. And all of a sudden I said, with the voice recorder, I said, "Is Andrew Borden here with me tonight?" And I was listening back on the recorder. Nothing was on the recorder, but the recorder was super loud. So it is almost like he heard me ask it twice. And you just hear out loud, and this was on video, "Yes." Like a man yelling.
Ooh.
Oh, shit.
That's cool.
Which was like so awesome. Because like,
Yeah, of course. I
That's
mean,
insane.
yeah. I
So
mean, like you
intense.
just hear about him being very like he's a very tall presence. Was very frugal, like very old fashioned Yankee. Okay.
gotcha. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, Andrew Borden yelled at me. It's the best day of my life. Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, I'm curious about New Orleans. I just want to backtrack to the New Orleans, because I'm like, isn't that supposed to be like one of the most haunted towns or cities in America?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of just mostly did like touristy things over there, but I did go over to the the Myrtles plantation, which I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to go to a haunted plantation, but yeah, so I stayed over there for a night.
Ooh.
In the haunted doll room, apparently. So nothing really happened too much. I investigated a little bit, and then I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed. And then I woke up in the middle of the night to, hey, and I was just like, at first, not gonna lie, I pretended to keep sleeping. I was like,
yeah, it's the right thing to do.
but yeah, I was just like,
So you do all of this stuff and you're not scared. So what does scare you? Spiders or anything?
oh,
I mean, God, you were at the height of COVID working in the ICU, right? Is that what it was?
ER.
The ER, right? Paranormal. So is there anything that scares you?
Tornadoes.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
That's why I'm in New England. We have no tornadoes really.
True.
No alligators.
True.
No alligators. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have sharks for a long time. We got sharks now.
True.
Yeah.
We have had like a few tornadoes touch down. We had one touchdown in Warwick,
The
not too
sharks
far
just
from
wanna
where we are
enjoy
right
kicking.
now a few years ago. It was like one of those like water. Okay. I don't know anything about tornadoes. Maybe they always have
Tsunami?
water, but
Yeah.
no, not a
Cyclone.
tsunami. So like
A water
but it was on
tornado and a
295.
tsunami are different.
Out.
It touched, yeah, like a spout or whatever they call it. And it was
Yeah.
like maybe 10 seconds it touched down, but someone got a video of it. It was insane. And then we had an earthquake last year. It's like, in my mind, I've always been like, hold on, time out. They told me in school that shit doesn't happen here. So why is it happening? And like great whites all over the coast. Like I used to swim in the beaches growing up because I always thought, no, New England doesn't have sharks. I can swim here freely. Anything that's going to bite me is just going to, not take my leg off. But we have a lot of sharks out here.
Yeah, once you get past the rocks, the sharp ones.
I don't go past the waist. I'm not very buoyant. I'm a sinker.
I like to snorkel, so
Oh, of course you do. You're like, actually, I like to go into these caves. I hold my breath for as long as I can.
I love to like go into shark infested waters.
Now, have you like personally connected with like a lot of people? Are you involved in like communities where groups of people such as yourself that are into the paranormal go out and explore together? Are you always like solo like this? And then you just have like your friend group who are always like, oh my God, Amanda, I can't believe you're doing this. This is crazy. Please text me that you're alive and okay in the morning.
Well, people at work are definitely like, because I don't advertise what I do. I like to keep my two lives separate there.
Right.
Good job finding my national award, because I was like, how did he find
He's
that
good at
out?
what he does.
Our last name too. It's interesting.
Yeah. We can cut that out if you need it to be.
I'm just kidding. Thank you. So yeah, my coworkers are definitely like, when they found out, they were like, what? You're like sort of TikTok famous and you do what? And I was like, oh, I'm actually going to drop down to per diem, which is as needed, so that I can go live at the Conjuring house for 7 days at a time. I'd be like, oh, can you work this week? Oh, no, sorry. I'm going to be at the Conjuring house.
I'll be busy.
It's one, guys.
That's awesome.
Just putting my life as a horror movie.
Too funny.
What was the question? Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I've gone to places with other people before, but I always tell people, like, it's hard to, like, especially when you're an adult, navigate trying to get everyone together. So I always tell people, like, don't be afraid to just go by yourself. And I kind of think of it as like ghost bait, because they see my little innocent face and they want to mess with me, which is really great because I'm not afraid. It's like going to a haunted house.
Oh my God.
The haunted hayride, they always target me because I look like I'm going to scream, and then I'm just like,
Yeah.
Stone cold.
If only they had social media, they would be like,
God.
don't mess with her.
I would absolutely scream at the top of my
God,
lungs. What? Okay, so this is actually leads into a good question. Yes.
one time I was staying at the Borden house and I was in the attic room and I was like doing a little live on TikTok, and I was just like walking around, and then all of a sudden I hear footsteps running up behind me.
Oh my God.
I screamed bloody murder.
Oh my God.
That was terrifying.
What did you do?
Yeah.
It would have freaked me out. I wouldn't blame you.
How do you do that?
On video too.
So then my question is like, what should someone do? Like, if they're like, what is a good, if I were to go in, like, tell me how I should be prepared. Like, I am never going to go into these places, but if I ever did, like, how do you handle it? Like, if you're a first timer and you're a big old scaredy cat, like, how do you handle it?
Yeah.
What's your advice?
Just, come from a good place, introduce yourself, even if you think to yourself, I sound like a crazy person just talking to a wall. Introduce yourself, say why you're there. Say that you come with respectful intentions and that you just want to communicate if they're open to communicating. And if you want, you can also practice just, eyes closed or open. You can just picture sort of a warm light surrounding you and protecting you. And that might, help you feel a little bit better.
Gotcha.
Whether or not that works is.
Guess we're going to have to try it out, bub.
All right. I'm probably going to regret this next question. What was your worst experience?
Worst, like scariest?
Yeah,
or?
I guess scariest or yeah. I say worst, but it more in okay, it could be two. One that you really had high hopes for and it didn't work out well and it wasn't very haunted. You didn't really get what you were looking for that maybe a lot of people expect. And then the second would be what was the scariest experience for you? Because I don't know how you get scarier than people hearing someone. That's like every movie ever. It's I am not going to go. I have a whole gym in my home. I built a gym in the basement, and now I can't work out anymore. That's my excuse. I'm too afraid to go back in the basement.
Basements are sometimes where spirits will go because they want to avoid people. Oh. They're just like every other New Englander,
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'd make. I love that.
Yourself.
That was good. Okay, sorry. I'm kind of talking on your answer here.
You're good. Your question was, yeah. So, I have been to haunted places before, and it hasn't felt overtly haunted. But I'll never say, "Oh, I went there one time and it's not haunted." Okay, people in my comments would be like, "I've been there before, was not haunted," and I'm like, "So what you're telling me is that the ghosts don't like you." You're telling on yourself right now. So it's when I first started working at the Conjuring house, I was there. I did my training and everything, and that was fine. So I was getting a really bad migraine when I don't get migraines, but fine. That's fine. And the first week there, I was just cleaning, doing my chores and everything. And I was like, huh. I sort of felt like I was gaslighting myself. I was like, did I never experience anything haunted, paranormal here? Is this not really haunted anymore? And then as soon as it was all right, Amanda, you're going to be by yourself for the night. All the other staff left. Things got real. I had a couple guests that night, and so what I would do is I would give them an evening tour and then let them, investigate. And I would just sort of be in what used to be the woodshed. There was a bed, and just sticking in the shed.
You get a couch.
But so what I liked to do was give a low lighting tour. So I'm like, do you guys want the lights on or off? They're like, off. I'm like, yeah. Turn off all the lights. Just a little flicker, dim the lights there. And I really liked them. And so I was sort of telling them some of the ghost stories that happened to the parent family in addition. And it was oh, they're listening. Some of the lights would flicker and you're like, yeah, it's an old New England house. That's going to happen, right? But we went down to the basement. And as I'm telling these stories, I stopped talking because upstairs, it sounded like people were having a conversation. And I was listening. And then I was like, wait a minute. I am actually the adult here. I have to make sure that nobody broke into the house.
Yeah.
No one did. It was just us. But it sounded like someone was just coming home from their work day and just shooting the shit, just talking about their day.
Ooh, if
fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, how about the hotel at Mount Washington? Isn't that supposed to be this very haunted place? Is that?
Okay, yeah. So I've been there a couple times, and the first time I was there, nothing really happened, and I was like, so it's just, a bougie hotel. And then...
That charges extra to make you think it's haunted.
Yeah. So the second time I was there, I stayed in the princess room, which is supposed to be the most haunted room. And again, I was there by myself. My husband had to work, so I was just...
Oh my gosh.
It's always when I'm by myself, I swear, but... the other room next to me was booked off because Amy Bruni was hosting a Strange Escapes weekend. So she let me stay in that room, and then the other room was empty. So I'm falling asleep, and I always feel like it's when I'm trying to sleep that ghosts are like, yeah, let's mess with her.
Right.
But it's fine, except when I'm really tired. All of a sudden I heard what sounded like drawers closing. And I sort of looked around the room like, I don't see anything happening. Then the next morning, I was doing like a TikTok live or something. And I was like, oh, let's go in this room. Mm-hmm. All of the drawers were open.
I watched that one.
All of them. Yeah.
I watched that one.
I was just like, what? And I was just like, the whole time I'm thinking, oh, this place is
the way I would have screamed and ran up Mount Washington in the fastest record in human history. Are you kidding me? The drawers were open?
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it sounded like I fell asleep hearing them open and then was like, well, I don't know what that is. And then.
Dude,
that was awesome.
No
so the next
way.
night I stayed in that room, but.
No way.
Happened, but.
This is unbelievable. Okay, Amanda, I think I'm hitting my peak. I think we need to go on to the So New England segment
We're
here.
gonna have to put on a Kevin Hart movie for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to shake it off after this. What's that?
One story?
One more? Okay, give it to me.
Is that okay? All right.
Yes, of course.
Since you're, Rhode Island, figure you want to hear about the Conjuring house. So the first time I investigated the Conjuring house, it was like a public ghost hunt. So I went by myself, but it was like there's other people there.
Right.
And they were like, all right, anyone want to go down to the basement alone? And I was like, I literally stood up, put my hand up and said, I volunteer as tribute. And yeah, like Katniss ever seen, like, just sacrifice. But it was one of my first paranormal, like, investigations. But I was like, yeah, I'll go down there. And so I was doing the Estes method down there. And they sat me in what I now know is the well room. And one of the things they said was behind you. And then the well was right behind me. And I didn't realize.
Oh, goodness. Goodness.
They said that that's where, like, the source of the house's, like, energy comes from.
Is the well.
But
Gotcha.
the weirdest thing was when they came down to get me, there's 2 sets of stairs going down to the basement. They came down to get me, and they came to the room, yelled for me, and saw that I wasn't there. And so they figured I went up the other stairs. I was still in there.
Huh.
They didn't see me. The light was on. And I later went up the stairs and they were like, where were you? Because they were confused why I went up the stairs where they were and not the other stairs. So, where did I go?
Where did you go?
I was plopped into this reality. I'm not sure if I regret this choice or not.
That's crazy.
But
wow.
Yeah, so.
Maybe that was like a transitional thing for you. Like they just they brought you to the other side officially and they were like, hey, this is like.
We accept you.
Yeah, this is like welcome to the other side, like a way to get to the other side. What are they call, like an initiation?
That night, I also did an illegal seance because you're not supposed to do seances there. Clearly, I follow the rules.
All these are hypothetically speaking.
And I like a few people. There was like a perfect amount of chairs. Like, all right, let's all sit down. And I kid you not. So I had the lights off. I pretended to know how to conduct a seance because of what? Because of something I saw in Vampire Diaries. Okay. I was like, all right, let's I'll close your eyes. We'll do the light of protection. And then I was like, what I said was, something like, the spirits of this house, we call on you. If you have a message, we're here to listen. And then we look up and the basement window that leads to outside, a white dress dragging by the window.
Holy smokes.
Vin, in my bag over there, Vin,
I should not have worn white shorts. Though.
Yeah,
this
in my
was a
bag
bad
over
idea.
there, the change of underwear I brought, you can bring them now.
Yeah, I'm gonna need those.
We're gonna.
Holy smokes.
That's intense.
That's intense.
I love that.
That's intense. And your husband, he's into paranormal activity as well, or no?
No. Yeah, no, he's totally a normal guy. Yeah.
He's totally
we see
normal
Nora,
guy.
Oh my gosh.
What would you say was the hardest thing to learn growing up?
Probably learning how to like use, save, or spend money.
You legit worked in banking, did you not?
You're welcome.
Are you still with Dime Bank or are you to Hollywood now?
Okay, rude, but yes. Yes, I am.
Imagine your followers finding out you're with a Connecticut-based bank.
Okay, first of all, they have a branch in Wesley, Rhode Island, which is where we grew up. So really that's brownie points because I'm sticking to my roots. Second, I think everyone would appreciate that I'm with a bank that knows and understands their community. Their tagline is legit, community banking lives here.
Hey, I'm not asking you to sell me on it. I've been banking with them for years, and they know me on a first-name basis. I'm just saying, I'm surprised is all. I can see the headlines now. Mr. Anti-Connecticut actually banks with a local community bank?
Okay, you know what? Follow along with me here. They're FDIC insured, Equal housing lenders, wicked friendly. They take care of all my personal needs, have expansive products to help all my businesses, offer lending across the board, merchant services. What more could I possibly want or need? And you know that I secretly like Connecticut, so...
Oh, I hope you heard that, folks. Dime Bank is the reason Ian loves Connecticut.
Okay, you're ridiculous. Funny story, though. You know how they have like the mobile app with like banking, Lifesaver, you can do all the deposits. Yeah. Have you tried to teach your mom how to do the mobile deposit
No.
yet? I was teaching my mom how to do it, and she takes a selfie instead of the check. Visit dimebank.com to learn more. Okay, I think that's enough for me. So we're going to move on to the So New England segment here. Okay, and I'm going to try and curate these to kind of match the vibe of what you got going on. So my first question is for you. If you were going to rank the most haunted states in New England, what would the order be? New England states in order based on how haunted they are.
That's a really great question. Well, I think that, I won't try to do much of a spiel here, but I think that different states are haunted for different reasons. I feel like Massachusetts, very haunted. Lots of freaking murder happened there.
Yep.
Darkly haunted over there. Vermont, I think it's haunted because it's just kind of nice. Like, like, you know, beautiful mountains and everything. Yeah, maybe Massachusetts probably at the top. Maybe Rhode Island. You know, it's small, but I did really extensive research on the town of Burrillville, and yeah, a lot of murders and things happen there as
That
well.
old money town.
So Massachusetts 1, Rhode Island 2.
Because I'm sucking up.
Yep.
Probably, you know, maybe Vermont, then New Hampshire.
Yep.
Those could interchange. And then, I mean, I don't know if we want to count Connecticut.
Oh, I wasn't
There
sure.
it is. Even in this one, Connecticut's
I
still
wasn't
at the
sure.
bottom.
You even suck at being spooky, Connecticut.
No, it's very spooky. It's just, you know, the old joke, right? We live in New England. If you're born in New England, you're like, all right, Connecticut. Yeah, look for my Connecticut people.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so obviously, well, I mean, I guess do you have a favorite New England haunt, like a movie based in New England that has to do with the genre of being like scary, haunted? I mean, it's The Conjuring. I mean, there's got to be a few other ones I'm imagining, but
Oh, yeah.
horror films.
Obviously, the Conjuring. What else am I thinking of? I mean, all the Warren stories are mostly based on, you know, things that happened in. Oh wait, there is Connecticut. Yeah, you know, Annabelle. Things like that.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Right, Connecticut.
Oh,
good
call.
one. Yeah.
All right. They're fifth now, but okay.
Nobody hate on my ranking, okay? It's just we're all the same little cluster.
No, it's
right?
all right. She's just, no, it's fine. Connecticut sucks.
Yeah. I've heard you say that before too, so I'm like,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's my thing. I like to say Connecticut sucks. It really doesn't, but it's
No,
just like,
yeah.
you know, it's the
I know,
internet,
like
whatever's
between
trendy.
all the highways and things, there are like some really cool spooky spots. But
Absolutely. I have a good friend, Kayla. Her former page used to be KK Blondie, but she just recently rebranded. But she's been exploring like spooky places all over Connecticut for a long time. So I don't know if you've ever seen her page or whatever. I can send it to you, but clip this just so that, you know.
yeah, I think
anyway.
there's like a lot of spooky presence of people in Connecticut, so I sort of like let them have that a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So now we're just going to ask you some more New England based questions. Do you have a favorite New England food?
Oh, lobster roll, obviously.
Hot or cold?
Yeah, obviously. I've had a lobster roll on a haunted island next to an axe murder at a haunted hotel.
I have to be honest with you. That sounds like the absolute worst place in the world for me to ever enjoy a lobster roll. But I'm so glad that you did that. Was it a hot roll or a cold roll?
Oh, I think it was cold.
Where were you again? Where was this island?
What was it called? It was like in the Isles of Shoals.
Okay. I don't
Have
know
you
where
heard
that
of
is.
the New England? I've never like done into axe murders, but there was like a New England axe murder that happened over there, and so
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where is that island? Is that in Maine?
it's off the coast of Maine and New Hampshire.
Okay. Yeah, I figured. Because
You
when
have
you
to
said
take a
cold, I was
boat
like, it's
to
got to
get
be island off of Maine. Again, I don't know everything New England. I'm not that well versed.
Nah.
Cold. Ugh.
From that, I spent the night and sort of got stuck there and realized that everybody else there was there for like a religious conference, and I was like,
Ooh. Yeah, they were not happy to see you there.
Yeah, I bet.
Okay, if there were 3 places in New England for people who are starting out with paranormal explanation, for 3 places that you would recommend that they explore, what would the 3 places be?
Wilson Castle, that's in Vermont. Very nice place. Very haunted also.
I love that you say this so nonchalantly. Like, it's so, and I love that for you, but it's just like, this is so not a part of my life, but it's so a part of it. You're like, oh yeah, if you want to get haunted, definitely go to Wilson Castle. It's like where I'm like, okay, if you want a good slice of pizza, this is where you got to go. Antonio's and Providence, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so funny the way you do it.
Definitely recommend Miss Lizzie's Coffee. The owner may or may not let you investigate there, but it's a really cool spot. Lots of history there. I used to say the Lizzie Borden house, but now they have mannequins of the Bordens who were murdered in the spot where they're murdered. And I don't know, for me, like if you say the house is haunted, you know, you advertise it as haunted, and then you're also saying that that they're there and they're watching, but you're being disrespectful. That bothers me. Not gonna lie, but it is very haunted. So I'm never gonna tell someone, don't go there. There's a lot of things happen to me there. Awesome. Obviously, Rhode Island used to say the Conjuring house, but that's no more. But there's, what is that haunted mansion called? When we think of the haunted mansions in my Rolodex here. The S.K. Pierce Haunted Victorian Mansion. It's a cool place, Massachusetts.
Gotcha. Mansion seems to be the most haunted places, huh?
I mean, why would you want to leave if you
got a lot of bodies you can put in that big old house.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, one last question for you. We have 6 beautiful states here in New England, including Connecticut. If you were able to add a particular city, state, or country for the purpose of haunted exploration, which one would you add?
Like add it on to New England?
Add it on to New England. Everything comes with it. And typically we ask it like, oh, bring the weather. Cause like I say Florida because I want the warm weather and the, blue beaches. But like, for the purpose of curating the question for you, I'd love to know, like, if there's one place you'd love to, that you think is great and you could explore more and you could just attach it to New England and it would give you everything you were looking for, what would it be?
I mean, Ireland.
Ooh.
Very
Amanda,
haunted.
it's like you really do all these things that I don't like, but then you say something like that, and I'm like, maybe I would explore haunted Ireland. I don't know. Maybe I would, because if I could go there.
If he was ever going to explore anywhere haunted, it would definitely be haunted Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did it. I went to a castle where they have like dinner and lunch and stuff like that. I went there with my mom, and our waiter was like, oh yeah, like we have like a haunted bedroom upstairs that you can go. And I was like, yeah, absolutely not. Mom was like, oh, come on, you'll be fine. Come on. And I went up there and like, I didn't feel haunted, but like, I'm like, my brain was just like, so like it could have been, but I was so hyper focused on not trying to get scared that like, I was just like, okay, this is great. This is really cool. I'm going to go downstairs and I'm just going to get my buttered bread roll. And that's what I'm going to be eating right now. And you guys have fun. So, but anyways, that would be, I love that addition.
That's great. That's a great addition. Good call.
Amanda, where can everybody find you online so that they can follow along with your awesome paranormal journey?
Yeah, you can find me at spooky.new.england on Instagram, Spooky New England on TikTok, Spooky New England on Facebook if you're in that demographic. Spooky New England on YouTube as well.
Let's go.
Fantastic. And anything else you'd like our viewers to know about you, or anything else you'd like to say before we end this particular episode?
I guess just, you can be scared and, get started anyway. So
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to follow that, but I love it.
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much, Amanda.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.
All right, folks, that is going to conclude episode 49, the spookiest and scariest episode we've ever had, and probably, hopefully, the last, because no one's better than Amanda. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please remember, folks, life's scarier in New England. Oh, curveball. Life's better in New England.
Red Sox crack in the Celtics.